Hey everyone, I'm Krista Watanabe,
And I'm Neoshia Roemer.
and you're listening to Wires from the Deep. Welcome to Wires from the Deep, a Silo Series podcast. Today is Sunday, August 16, 2026, and you're listening to episode 38, Unicorns and Foot Rubs. Today, Neosh and I will be breaking down season 3, episode 7, called Radio.
This episode was released on August 14th, 2026. It was written by Remy Abuchan and directed by Eric Avellino.
So I am podcasting during Tropical Storm Lala. Thankfully, my power's still on, but hopefully we can get through the whole episode. All right, first order of business, our Silo giveaway. We're giving away a Silo 18 fob made by Apple TV, so stay tuned to the end of the episode. I drew the winner yesterday, and we'll review who won later on. Episode breakdown. So the recap this week was really long again, and it included quite a few clues as to what was coming, such as a refresher on Gloria Hildebrand and the Flamekeepers, plus a history from Bernard on the implementation of vitamin D plus, which I think a lot of the people who don't like the amnesia plot tend to forget, because people complained a lot about Jules forgetting her memory, about like forgetfulness, amnesia in general. But I think maybe they just didn't realize that amnesia has always been a part of Silo's story, like going all the way back to Salvador Quinn's rebellion. So hopefully that.
Yeah. And I mean, not just amnesia, right? Like what we've been talking about. Like, I think it's easy to call it amnesia because it mirrors amnesia,
Yeah,
but it's more so like memory control, memory replacement.
yeah, yeah, taking away people's agency. So
hmm Picking and choosing those memories.
and before we start, I just want to say thank God Emerson is not in this episode so that I can call her Erickson 500 times over and over. Oh my goodness. I was editing last week's and I was just like, wow, I really can't keep her name straight. I
Well, and
think,
I'm always like, wait, which one is that? And that's the raider, right? The female raider.
yeah, the new Amazon, the new one who's head of janitorial now.
Yeah.
But the episode starts with Anthony sleeping, Robert watching, and then he leaves and he goes on to water filtration, but he notices that there's raiders guarding the place. So next we have the sheriff's department. Jerry brings Lucas and Patrick in to meet with Jules, and she tells them that she's sending him outside at dawn. And Patrick's like, "What? Fuck that!" and Lucas is like, "What is with you? You're the outsider guy. You wanted to go out, and you've been saying so for the last 3 months, and now you don't." And he explains, I do want to go out. I just don't want to go into another silo. Which, I mean, fair, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that depends on whether or not we believe he actually thinks you can go outside and like there's actually something out there. But like just based on what Juliet acknowledges, right? There's nothing out there. So anyway, I digress, but you're right.
No, but I mean, he's basically saying, I don't want to go from one prison to another prison.
Right.
Right? It's like
Right.
just going from cell block A to cell block C.
Well, and you're taking the scenic route though, right?
Yeah. And plus, like he says later, he thinks that it's green outside. He thinks it's a paradise. So
Mhm.
he doesn't want to skip all that and then just go back into another silo. So, but he tells Jules, okay, you know what? I'll get him to 17 if I can just do whatever I want after that. And Jules is like, yeah, sure. which is an empty promise because she knows full well what is waiting for him outside, and she's tried to tell him and he doesn't believe her. So that's on him. So,
Right.
but there's a knock on the door, and then I saw Jerry going to open the door, and I was just like, oh, so Jerry is read in now, too. They're
Yeah.
just reading people in left and right.
It's no longer a secret. I think this episode kind of just shows that like even if this kind of was an underground type thing, I don't think it's that underground anymore.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, because last week the voice had said that Juliet's going to infect everybody with what she knows. And it was true, right? I mean, they're telling whoever they need to get help for themselves. So So the knock on the door was someone delivering a note, and he gives it to Jules. So she tells him to get Danny because she's gonna need him to shut off the screens. And then so next she goes downstairs, and so the note was from Sims, and so she goes to meet him. He tells her that I went to water filtration and they're guarding it. So the vitamin D is already implemented. So he tells her drink anything but water. So milk, juice, and she wants to know how soon the drug take to start taking effect. And he says that immediately. So that answers one of the questions we were wondering about, right? Whether it's like they need to consume a decent amount or if like it's delayed or whatever. But I guess it starts working immediately. But so that makes me wonder though, because later on there's a time crunch. Jules has to decide what to do because two like people might die or people are gonna die because of the vitamin D plus. But if it's already in the water, like how long do you think that this depression kind of anxiety kind of thing takes to take effect on people?
Well, my point of curiosity with this particular part of the plot is I don't think that the drug itself causes the depression and anxiety. I'm willing to bet it's what happens when they start messing with the memories. So I
Okay.
don't know that the depression and anxiety comes
No, but do
quickly.
you think that they do that individually with people? I mean, like, do they call them into judicial and do that en masse and interview them kind of thing? Or do they just give it all to them and they just let them forget whatever? And then they just make them live like that? Because I feel like doing what how they describe in the before times, doing what they're doing with Charlotte, I feel like
Mhm.
that's a lot of work. And that's not something feasible for a mass population.
Well, I mean, think about like our conversation with Hugh Howey in terms of like how we message things to the public, right? Because I think there are ways in which you can just do like a mass, this is what happened, right?
Like broadcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, oh,
No,
this
okay,
this is
yeah,
the thing and this is the new reality. And so if you do have people who know not to drink the water, like you still have the infection there, right? So
yeah,
I don't know how they're going to get around this without actually just killing Juliet.
yeah. But yeah, so Sims tells her that, and this is where we get his trailer line when he says, "Whatever you're gonna do, do it now." And he says he's being followed and in person and with cameras, so they can't meet again. And
Mhm.
before he leaves, she stops him and she tells him, "Robert, be careful." And she looks genuinely worried for him. And I found that really touching actually because they seem to have come a really long way. I mean, they were serious adversaries starting from season one, right?
Mhm.
Like they really didn't like each other and they were always on opposing sides. And it's nice to see them working together somehow. I've seen a lot of people saying that their opinion on Robert Sims has changed so much this season.
I don't get that though, cuz like I get that he's now on the side that you want him to be on as a viewer,
Yeah.
but he's always been pragmatic.
I guess he was just kind of a alpha male bully kind of guy before, and I found that kind of off putting. So
Well, I guess we had to watch his wife bully him to make him more likable. I
the
guess.
Camille hate has made him pale. His badness pale in comparison, right?
Yeah, like have you met Robert Sims? Now, meet his wife.
Especially after this episode. Holy crap! Oh, anyway, Kathleen and Sandy arrive in Holding 3 with Danny, and that's where Lucas and Patrick are waiting. They're just chilling to go outside.
Mhm.
They tell them that they're going to go outside, and there is this really interesting interaction between Kathleen and Patrick. So I know they're both outsiders, but the way that they were standing very close, he stands because he was lying on the bed, and then he stands up, and there's like this half of a bar wall between them, but he puts his head on it and he kind of just stands really close to her. And he calls her cat and he's trying to assure her that he'll be okay going outside.
Right.
Because she believes Jules, who says that, the cleaning video was only in the helmet. So she thinks that it's bad outside. But I don't know. Did you pick up anything between them. I feel like there's this vague vibe between them. And it makes me feel even more bad for Paul because things are pretty strained between her and him. So
Well, I mean, yeah, because technically he's supposed to be arresting her. But also, I mean, I didn't really pick up on that. But I do think what I pick up on them or pick up on with them is, this idea that like she was with them. And I think she technically is still with the outsiders,
yeah,
but she has a different vision, right? So we're starting to see splintering. And we've been talking about this too in terms of how even during the rebellion, there were like multiple factions, like multiple different rebellions going on,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so I think we are seeing some splintering again within this group.
yeah. Danny says, and I hadn't really known that Danny and Patrick were this close. I knew they knew each other. Like I
Hmm.
think Patrick was a fence, so I thought it was more like a petty criminal kind of acquaintance kind of relationship. But Danny says that he knows someone who would be excited that he was going outside, and he's talking about his wife. And we had learned about Patrick's wife before. I think she was murdered. They mentioned this in season one. She had died earlier because Patrick. We first came to know Patrick because they went to his apartment to question him for something, and he had moved because his wife died, and he got
Hmm.
moved to a smaller apartment or something like that. So, but she was apparent. She sounds like she was a fun person. she she used to tell people after a couple of drinks that if she ever got caught for killing someone, probably her husband, that she'd go outside singing "Happy to be Free," even if it was just for one fucking minute. And I really liked this small little batch of dialogue because I don't know, it painted like a different time for Patrick.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean we see him how he is now. He's very aggressive sometimes and jaded and cynical, but I feel like it's because of things that have happened to him in the past. It was nice to look into his background a little bit.
Right.
The suit techs arrive to suit them up. And then next we go to Camille. She goes home. She checks on Anthony. She sees Robert sleeping. And then he peeks his eyes open at her. They're watching each other.
Hmm.
Jules rushes into the sheriff's department and tells him that she knows she said they had until dawn, but they need to go now instead because she's just come back from meeting with Robert. So that's why there's this pressure for her to hurry up. So the original plan was dawn, but now, and I saw it on the clock at some point when they're suiting up. It's like around 1 in the morning or something like
Hmm.
that. Yeah, and then so they get them all suited up. Danny shuts down the screens. Jerry is guarding the cafeteria. And Martha tells Lucas that he'll hear her through his radio and to talk in code. And Patrick's like, will you be able to hear me? She's like, I hope not.
I think she's tired of him, to be honest.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. This guy just won't shut up. But Lucas is given the code name Deputy Turley, Jules is Deputy Crane, and Patrick is Deputy Kelso. And he's like, no, 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 I'm not going to remember that. Can I have a different name? But she tells him to just stay calm and get Lucas to 17. And then they're put in the airlock and they're just sent outside. I mean, I had said last week that I didn't think that they were going to go outside, that it was going to be Shirley and Knox, but it literally was Patrick and Lucas. So I was actually really surprised to see this in the start of the episode, and it really got me excited. I felt like the episode was progressing very nicely.
hmm. And I mean, like, a lot of stuff happened pretty quickly because I don't even think we made it to the intro yet, have we?
No, the intro came really late. It came 16 minutes into the episode.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So then, after they send them out, they gotta go to the holding cell to watch them from the window because Danny turns off the screens. So Martha radios to ask Turley if he reads her, and he's staring at the sky. And oh my god, this was a very emotional scene because Lucas was the one who used to go to the cafeteria at night just to map out the stars. He found them fascinating, and then now he gets to go outside. And I do want to note that, like, when you live in a city, a lot of times the lights are so bright that you
Hmm.
can't really see the stars. So the view that he gets out there is is beautiful. I mean, you can see the Milky Way galaxy, right? And he's
Hmm.
just mesmerized, and I love the look on his face and the fact that he got to do that to experience that. But I mean, poor Patrick, he just looks devastated.
Yeah.
He's just looking around. He's like, there's nothing out here.
Well, I mean, who wants to be wrong, right?
I
Like,
know, I know.
it's devastating, but
Plus, he must be like freaking Jules. She told me I could go do whatever, and she knew. But I mean, she tried to warn him. So
yeah, but he didn't want to hear it, right?
yeah, yeah. So they head over the hill, and I do want to note that I spotted Holston and Allison's bodies when they were going up the hill. So
Mm,
they didn't forget that detail. Lucas radios when they reach the 17 berm, and then they start seeing the bodies, and he calls it the damage, and he says it's worse than they imagined. And they show the clock during this scene, and it's 3:08 a.m., so it's about 3 hours before they were supposed to go out. And we got the answer to the fob on whether it buzzes because it vibrates on her desk. Camille is sleeping on the couch or something, and it goes bzz, bzz, and it wakes her up. But outside, a buzzing starts, and Patrick notices it first, and he's like, "What is that?" And Lucas radios in. He asks if they can hear it, and it's really loud.
mhm,
And to me, it sounded like drones. I've had a drone literally fly over my head at my house, and that's exactly what it sounds like. And then gunshots ring out, and Lucas screams to run, and then their comms go out. And Kathleen is in tears, and Sandy's saying it sounds like guns. And Martha points out that there's no static; it's just silence.
mm.
So what did you think about the buzzing?
I kinda took it on one hand, we didn't see anyone die, but I was like, "Oh, that's what they were planning to do all along was to shoot them,
Yeah,
when they went out so that they wouldn't make it back because they knew they weren't gonna make it back."
yeah,
And so I thought this was a nice scene in terms of how this was set up because it does give you the impression that they're dead.
yeah. I saw people saying, "Oh, it's nanobots," and I was just like, "Well, how is that going to happen with guns?" You know, I feel like it's got to be some kind of machine that is controlled and that's shooting at them. So
Yeah, because I mean, like, they probably wouldn't build all these silos and put no security defenses in them, especially
yeah,
considering, what we learned in this episode. So,
but I feel like it's not something that they allow the actual silos to control. So
mm,
it's probably silo one. It's not something that like I don't think silo 18 can go send a drone out to go kill somebody who doesn't clean kind of thing, you know.
yeah, no, I think that's right. Like, it's probably centrally controlled.
Yeah. So initially in Discord, we had thought that only Lucas had a radio. And that became important later when we hear back from Patrick. But on rewatch, I think it's actually pretty clear that Patrick has a radio too, because after the gunshots, Martha switches to calling out for Kelso, which is Patrick. So she has a way to talk to him.
Right. I think
So they both have radios.
yeah, I just think the idea was that Lucas was to be the main contact.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was an initial confusion that we had in Discord. Next, we have Camille going to the vault, and it tells her immediately that Lucas and Patrick have been neutralized. And at this point, I was like, okay, that really sucks, but there's no bodies on screen. So I didn't believe that they were dead. But I mean,
Right.
there's still that nagging worry, right? Because maybe they're like pulling a fast one on you, thinking, oh, there's no bodies, so
Well,
you're going to think that they're still alive, but they are dead.
I mean, there is something to be said, right, for what the audience knows versus what the people in universe know,
Yeah,
because it is kind of convincing that they were killed. If you're in
yeah,
universe and you hear all that and hear nothing after. But as a viewer, I'm with you because it's like I didn't see any bodies.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so this part I thought was really important because we've been talking about manipulation of the voice on Camille, and I feel like there's a whole lot more of that going on here. She asks what happened, and it tells her, "You saw her unedited cleaning video. What did you see?" And she says she saw an entire silo's worth of bodies, and it tries to get her to think about what that means. And she says they were able to prevent a safeguard. And then she says momentarily. And it says, that's the key word, momentarily. And it's telling her that it's important that she realizes that you can't prevent a safeguard. And I think what it's just trying to tell her is that even if even if you can prevent this safeguard, if you try something else, we can get you another way. So
Right. And I guess my confusion with what he's telling her, and again, this is viewer versus in universe. I thought all the people in Silo 17, or at least all those bodies, they went outside.
they
Like I
did
thought
go
that's what killed
outside.
them. Like they went outside. They opened the door and went outside.
Well, there's this when Solo tells the story, he says that they went outside and it was fine. So it's not like they went outside and they immediately started choking and they couldn't like breathe or anything like that. So and then he said the wind shifted and the poison came
Mm. So maybe they have like a big like crop duster or something.
or
Like crop
something.
dusting gas or
They have their gun drone and then they have their poison drone or
yeah,
something, you know?
I mean maybe it's possible. But then that begs the question of if the air isn't always poisonous, how are these
Yeah,
people dying when they go out to clean? Like in the
yeah,
suits? Because isn't that sort of the working theory is that
yeah,
some kind of air gets into the suits that kills the people?
yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's the big mystery. So but it tells her, I mean, it's trying to get her to figure something out. And so she eventually says, "Oh, so you think that's what she's trying to do? She's trying to prevent a safeguard, like, like stopping Silo One from being able to initiate one." And so it tells her to go talk to her and see if that's what she's afraid of. So Camille goes to knock on Jules' door, and this conversation was so weird to me because like you think about the situation, she's there to tell her, why'd you send them out early? And she's like, well, Kennedy was agitated, I had to send him out. And then she tells her, well, I'm sorry to tell you they didn't make it. But it's like, why wouldn't Jules already know that kind of thing? Like she thought she sent them out and then went back to her apartment to chill kind of.
I think that's another one of those things because how would she know? Right? So I think the in universe thing is Camille doesn't know everything that Juliet knows
Yeah.
in terms of like they're listening, they have the radios, like because I don't think Camille knows anything about the radios.
Oh,
That's not on
okay.
their radar. At least that's how I follow. Because like Martha, right, has the radios and knows how to use them, thanks to Bernard. But I don't think Camille or the AI is aware that they have those radios.
But yeah, so she tells Jules that they didn't make it to 17. She's like, oh, was there another reason you wanted them to go? And she tells her, no, I just wanted to save the kids. They saved my life and I wanted to save them. And she's, I liked how she was like, what's more important than saving children, Camille?
Yeah, she like tugged right on the mother heartstrings, right?
But she's like, well, what happened to them? And Camille says, oh, it was a suit malfunction. That's what happens when you rush. I need these two ladies to fight it out pretty soon. And I thought it was interesting because before Jules had gone back to her apartment, she opened the gun safe and she took a weapon. So she had a gun behind her, Camille had a gun behind her, and the two of them were packing while they were talking. And I was just like, they're gonna fight. But then they didn't fight. So I need them to fight. Jules's response is, "Yeah, we should have taken the time to make the suits bulletproof." And you can tell that this is news. Like you said, Camille doesn't know everything, right? She only knows what the voice told her is that they've been neutralized. She doesn't know how.
Right.
And so there's like a flash of surprise on Camille's face when she says that. It's like, what?
Yeah. And like I said, she doesn't know how they're communicating either.
Yeah. She must be wondering, yeah, like, how do you know? But at the same time she can't ask, and also it's probably embarrassing to her too because she's like the most powerful, she's head of IT, the most powerful person in Silo. She's like, how do you not know? It's like, oh. But this is where the intro plays. I found that actually really surprising because I would have thought that they would have played the intro after Lucas is staring at the sky, because I felt like that was a really powerful moment. So I would have liked to see it there. But yeah, it came really late. So next we go to the before times. They head into the hangar, and oh my god, Charlotte approaches with Cernkovich and Anna Thurman, and Daniel is rightfully very shocked. He's just like, what the hell is going on and why is she here? And she's like, I can't tell you that. And it's not because she doesn't remember, it's because she's already signed her NDAs. So she can't tell
Right.
him anything. But yeah, they're like, oh, Anna's like, oh, if you follow me, they're like, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, and I get Daniel. He's like, no, I'm going to talk to Charlotte and see what's going on with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, she can't say anything.
The senator tells them that behind those doors are many lawyers with NDAs, and if they sign, that they'll board a plane, and by this time tomorrow, they'll know everything. Which, oh my god, if it were me, I'd be so tempted. Anna clarifies that they won't be able to tell anyone any of it until they say. And then this is where Per Stenson approaches. We finally get to meet him.
Hmm.
And Helen is asking, "Well, what are you gonna do to me if I tell anyone? You're gonna sue me? I have $700 in my bank account." And Stetson is not even looking at them, and he's like, "Well, the lawyers are from Gitmo. They can literally send you to Guantanamo Bay." And this whole time, he's just fiddling on his phone, like so casually, like this is like nothing to him. And he says, "By the way, I'm thinking of buying it, Guantanamo Bay." The whole island. It's like, oh my god, already so insufferable.
And by the way, like you can't buy that. That is literally the country of Cuba.
Yeah, I
I mean, unless you fund a revolution and like buy the government and then tell the government to stop contracting with the US for $1 because that's how we have that base. You're not going to buy that. But anyway, you know what?
Who are you to tell a
Billionaires.
billionaire what he can buy, Yosha?
No, you know what? I'm going to let him cook. Let him cook.
He introduces himself, and Daniel's like, "We know who you are." He's like, "Oh, I know. I'm just being polite because my social team tells me I need to be." It's like, oh my god, this guy is so irritating.
I mean, yeah, he's given off. I can't tell if it's Zuckerberg or Musk. It's a true
Maybe
toss up.
it's both. Maybe they studied all of the irritating ones, and they're like, let's
Yeah.
blend them all into one.
But you know who it's not, Crystal? It's not Tom from MySpace. It's not MySpace Tom. He would never.
No. But he talks to Helen and he's like, "Well, what would you rather do? Would you rather drive off in your shitty minivan knowing nothing, or would you like to just sign and then you get to know the world's most important secret?" And then he offers them $100,000 each. And she's like, "What? You're the richest man in the world. You're going to offer us 100K to know the world's biggest secret?" And he's like, "Fine, 1 million." Oh my
Now,
goodness.
my question is that taxable income if it's like a bribe to sign an NDA?
I don't know. You're
Yeah,
you're the person in law. You tell
I
me.
just want to know how much. I just want to know what the government's cut is before I accept your bribe. That's all I'm saying.
But she's like, "You can't just buy everyone." And Daniel asked Charlotte if she signed. She's like, "I did. I want to know what's going on too." And so he's like, "Fine, I'll do it." And Helen wants to know how long it's going to be before she can report on anyone, on any of it. And Thurman says no more than 5 years. And that she wasn't just being dramatic; it's really about saving the world. So I think it's important to note that this comment tells us that there's probably a time jump coming
Hmm.
of like close to 5 years, because we see in the trailer Helen going on a tour of a silo, so that's when they're done, right? So there's going to be a big time skip.
Yeah, and I got the impression too with that particular plot line, it seems like, and I know even though we didn't really get very far between this episode and last episode, just the way that the pacing was in this episode, it seems like it's really picking up.
Yeah. And I know, like, I've seen a lot of comments complaining about how like the Helen and Daniel storyline is going really slowly, because, like, last episode was just them in the car and now it's them on a plane. And I feel like it's important to note that this is very likely due to how they want their story to unfold. They can't have the before time stuff progress too far, because it might give too many clues to what's happening in the present. So they need to trickle it out at a certain pace
Uh-huh.
so that it's the mystery in the present stays intact.
Well, not only that, but I feel like you have to spend some time establishing what's going
Yeah.
on in the
Yeah.
past because otherwise the viewer has no real buy-in. Like, why do I care that we're in the
Yeah.
past if I don't know anything about Helen and Daniel and what they're up to and just sort of who they are and that kind of thing? Because, like, I do feel like I don't feel like anything in that particular plot line has been useless so far, and I think we're still watching it unfold. So I don't know. It just seems like to me the people who are making those complaints, sorry, listeners, if this is you, are kind of in the instant gratification without actually
Hmm.
wanting or allowing the build. And like you said, allowing the build to happen in a way that makes sense to the overall narrative.
Yeah. So they bring us back to the present. In the mines, Harwood is leaving for work, and Paul and Hank approach, and they go to his office and they talk to him about Orla, and they want to talk about how she ended up in the mines. And Ed Harwood, he's able to glean from what they're asking that the surveillance cameras that everyone's been told are supposedly gone are not actually gone, and they're still watching them. So, and
Surprise,
then
surprise.
yeah. And then he tells them a story about a man from the mids who got sent to the mines. He could make objects disappear and reappear for kids, and he called it magic. And he tells him that Judicial sent him to the mines, saying that magic was a theoretical relic. But he says that it's more humane to hang people like that man instead of sending him to the mines. And he tells him, like he tells him about how he has maybe 8 hardcore criminals in the mines right now, and everyone else is just like, how you were talking like in previous episodes about like people dying in the mines. Like, how do they?
I mean, yeah, I think one of the things we're getting here is just sort of how it does seem like they're just sending people to the mines to die. And I don't know, like this is actually kind of deep for me because it does remind me of being a legal observer at Guantanamo Bay and observing like some of the pretrial hearings for the 9/11. There were 5 9/11 defendants. Basically, the way this worked is like members of the public, mostly legal professionals and other institutions, could go and observe, and you could meet with the different like actors in the system. So, like, we met with prosecuting attorneys, met with defense attorneys, got to know how the entire legal system worked in terms of, I promise this is going somewhere, in terms of how US law, international law, and military law are all being applied in these trials and or in these hearings. And it's a very, very complex, complicated web that takes, at that point, had taken nearly 15 years to just get to a pre-trial hearing. So we're not even at trials yet, right? We're
Jeez.
we're still at like we have not gotten to a trial yet. And
So
it kind of
these people are detained that whole time, you're saying?
yeah, it's the 5 people who allegedly planned and executed 9/11, or at least the 5 who remained alive. And I think one of them was like the money guy, and he was the one that was tortured. So basically what happened was when we got caught torturing them, we then had to do the whole like, "Oh, we're going to do a trial now." So these people had been tortured, and one of them like to the point where he like actually had to have like a special seat, like because
Yes.
he'd been tortured. But my point here is this, like it reminds me of being there and like a question that I had as someone who's like at the time I was a law student. And so I'm thinking about this in terms of like the idealistic principles of what our legal system means, right? And the idea that under the Constitution, everyone should get a fair trial and, all of these things that we're taught as Americans to hold dear. And I'm just like, why did they just kill them? Like, and
Yeah.
that's a horrible, hard thing to say, right? Because I'm talking about 5 human beings. But like that question started to crop up because what we're talking about really are, and this is what makes it so complicated, trials that when they finally do get to trial will probably result in the federal death penalty.
And they've already endured so much punishment as it is.
Right, they've been tortured. We're 15 years in, and they're still like in pretrial, and so they're still being detained at Guantanamo. And again, this is all after. This would have been in the mid 2010s, so
Uh,
it's after everything has come out about like the conditions at Guantanamo and all of those things, which is why they had the legal observers there, right? To kind of, I mean, they probably didn't anticipate this conversation we're having, but it's so that, people could come and see and
yeah.
could be able to say, these are the conditions, this is what happened, or this was my observation. But it started to kind of make me think like why did we even go through the point of like capturing and like doing this trial if it's just sort of a mockery? And that kind of seems like that's what's happening to these guys down in the mines or people in
Mhm.
the mines because like yeah, even Bernard, like, that's how he gets Lucas to do what he wants, right? Is like,
Yeah.
"You're not gonna make it. You're gonna die. You're not made
Yeah.
for that. You will die." And so it's like, what's the point? beyond saying that we have a system and here's how the system works and we're going to try to make it look right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So Paul, like after like says all this, Paul just goes, "So obviously you don't respect me as sheriff," and I was just cringing because that was such a strange thing for him to say. It was just kind of self-centered, and I do still really like Paul, but he's really been falling in my in my eyes, competence wise, and just I don't know what he's doing.
I mean, it's also one of those like classic criminal versus cop type scenes.
Yeah. Cause yeah, he tells oh, so what do you think of Holston? It's like, well, he said he respected him because he wasn't such a hard ass and he actually gave people leeway. He considered their families and then what the effect sending these people to the mines would do to them. And so Harwood actually respected him for that. But I mean, and then Paul pulls out this folder. He's like, "Well, you know, he thought you were a lousy crook. He opened all these investigations into you." And I like that. It's like, well, did he find me guilty on anything? Not so lousy after all, huh? It's like, oh my god, Paul, you're so embarrassing. You're you're embarrassing yourself over and over here. Uh
Yeah, and I mean like I said, I think it's classic cop versus crook is what we're supposed to take out of that scene.
yeah, and Paul's like I said, not a very good detective.
No, right? And I mean that's kind of the point of this role, and I think it's interesting how there's essentially four big branches of government here, right? There's the AI or the overseer, IT, um,
IT, judicial,
judicial,
and sheriff.
and sheriff, but then also janitorial as the enforcement arm.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think the sheriff is really supposed to have any real power.
Yeah, I feel like they're like neighborhood squabbles, kind of law enforcement, and like so. I've made this comparison before. I feel like the sheriff's department is like police, like local crime, small stuff. The raiders and janitorial and judicial are like the feds,
Hmm.
and then IT is like the government branch. So, but Paul brings up Glenda, and you know he brings up the confrontation that Ed had with Orla, and you know Ed explains that yeah, I was bitter because you know my daughter was the shadow of supply, and he claims that because of assumptions like bias against people who come from the mines, that's why she lost her job to Orla, and so that's what he thinks it is. I don't think that that's what it is. I don't know.
But I can see it from his perspective because
Yeah,
the way that I took that comment was a commentary on like social stratification
yeah,
and sort of this idea of if you're born in the mines, that's where you're supposed to die, right? You're not
yeah.
supposed to be able to
To
move up,
leave.
right? You're not
Yeah,
supposed to move up a couple levels, right? You're not supposed to do anything like that. But I think we've seen evidence, or at least when we heard from Carla, the reason that she entrusted this to Orla was because I mean there was a reason, right? Like she's like she has the
yeah.
background for it, Glinda doesn't. But there's just this idea that oh well she just thought Glinda was incapable, didn't trust her, didn't want her to have the work.
Well, plus she said she took the inventory and a lot had gone missing, and so Glenda is one of the only other people who can access critical supplies. So I mean, who can blame her for suspecting her shadow, right? Because that's one of the other people with access. So
Well, and we also have seen her now apparently walking through tunnels somewhere. So
yeah.
perhaps Glinda is a criminal. I don't know.
Well, we haven't seen her walking through tunnels. We have to presume that she's walking through tunnels, but
Right, right,
yeah,
right. We've seen her be in two places in such a close amount of time that she should not be able to cover, so we presume that she has gone through a tunnel.
yeah. I thought we would get to see more of that, but not yet, I guess. Hopefully this week. I mean, Harwood tells him, you know, I told her off on the stairs, but that was it. And that was the end of it. He says, now I would like to kindly ask you to fuck off. I love that line.
Yes.
He delivers it really well, too. Can you imagine how much work they have to do on his teeth before he has scenes? Do you see he's got like all kinds of black stuff between his teeth and everything? Oh,
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's such a good detail though,
yeah,
because looking at the people from the mines, they're supposed to be like your like literal mining community, right? So you're thinking like
yeah,
your impoverished Appalachian type population, and it's like they like look at how bad that man's teeth is. Like they don't have health care. Like the people above are living or people topside are living way better than
Yeah.
the people in the mines are. And I think that's a really good detail to have there because ideally, and again, not being a book reader, but thinking about what a silo like this and like the idea of it is that everyone should have equal access to things, but it seems like they don't.
Alrighty, so Jules arrives at Martha's workshop because, we're teleporting from top to bottom again. And Teddy's all excited. He says he's got an idea. He says they have a lot of gunpowder left over from the rebellion. If they can get into judicial, they can scatter the explosives along the wall, they can expose the pipes, and they can find the safeguard, and then they can cap it. And Jules points out that, well, they're going to see you doing that and they're going to release the poison, and who knows how long that they'll have to pump that out before you actually cap it. And they talk about how many suits they have. They only have 6 apparently, and they
Hmm.
debate how long it's going to take to cap the pipe, and they think that, 1,000 people could die. And Martha points out that the people are going to be sleeping because the levels above and below judicial are residential. So Jules doesn't want to do it because that's a lot of people to just kill, and they can't go evacuate these people if they're going to sneak into judicial too, right? So
Yeah, I found the scene, and I think it ties into a later scene. Holy trolley problem, Batman.
what
This is basically the trolley problem that we have here.
what is
Um,
that?
so the concept of, and again, I think it kind of ties into something that's going to come up here in a moment. Is it better for Juliet to make a decision and for the outsiders to do something that they know will kill 1,000 people? So we've done a voluntary act to kill 1,000 people. Or is it better than simply not acting and then allowing 2,000 people possibly to die? And so again, this will
Mm,
come up a little bit later when
yeah,
Bernard reads from the
yeah,
narrative. But this is the trolley problem. Like which
which
is
is
better?
worse. Yeah,
Or yeah, worse actually, because and I think the whole point of the trolley problem. I'm not an ethicist, but here's my take on it, and here's how I understand it: is the idea of, do you keep your conscience clear by not ordering the thing at all, and then live with the fact that like people died because you didn't do anything at all,
yeah.
or do you act and live with it?
So I'm really curious about this safeguard and distribution, because if it can kill 10,000 people, I mean, that's 144 levels. And if the pipe only comes from judicial, why does it go to judicial? Why doesn't it go to like air filtration? Because if you want to distribute it to the whole silo, that would be the most logical place to put it, right? Is to send this poison to air filtration so that it gets distributed through all the air ducts or whatever like that.
Unless there's some kind of stopgap where if it accidentally gets released in judicial, there's a way we can turn it off, versus if it's supposed to come out through filtration, if it's accidentally deployed, there's no way we're turning it off.
Yeah,
Just
I
a thought.
just find I just find it strange that it goes to judicial because I mean, if you're gonna kill the silo, I mean, why are you killing the? Is it because they want to take out the military first?
I mean, that would make sense, right? Like you take out the
Yeah,
people who are trained to actually act, and then
yeah,
the civilians just fall.
yeah. Oh, just the idea of that is very very sobering. And I think the voice said that they've done it 6 times, right?
Hmm.
Other silos have had safeguards implemented on them.
So that means there's only we should believe that there should be 45 silos still standing.
Or 44? Oh yeah, if you include silo 1, yeah. But Carla's like, maybe we should just drink the water.
I mean, if you just
I
drink it and forget, it's easier, right?
it's tempting, right? Because but Teddy's like, "Oh, should we vote?" And Bernard says, "No, Juliet was voted in as mayor, so she should decide." And that just kind of makes her sick, so she has to go outside and think. And she's just
Mhm.
like, "Can you guys come up with a plan that doesn't kill thousands?" And then we go back to the before times. On the plane, Charlotte is telling Daniel about what she remembers. Last time he saw her, she called him Donald. She didn't remember him. And so she wasn't very far along in her therapy. So she was pretty bad. And now that he's seen her, she called him by his name Daniel. So
Yeah, and also too, I think it's remarkable because we know not that much time has actually passed
Yeah,
in
like a week or
that point.
something.
Yeah, and she's already at this level. So
Yeah.
I think that is a good indicator of how quickly this memory stuff works
And she
for
looks
dividing
very
people up.
she her demeanor is very different because
Mhm.
when we saw her, she was like super paranoid. She was looking over her shoulder. She was like very just walking around very suspicious of everything around her. And in the hangar, she's like practically skipping around. She's like really happy. So I think that's they're trying to show us what this memory therapy of Sarkovich can do.
Mhm.
But she's
Eh,
explaining to him that, she knows the facts, but she doesn't necessarily have the memories. She says the rest is kept in the vault, which I thought was interesting wording. But she's like, I remember some stuff, but not everything. So, which is kind of what Cernkovich had told him. So,
Mhm.
but she kicks him out of her seating area because she wants to sleep. He goes to Helen and tells her, "Oh, she gave me some shit, so she must be doing better."
Yeah, like she remembered to act that way towards her brothers.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Next, we have Knox going to Mark, and he wants to know how his dad died. He wants to know if he was murdered. And that's when Mark, and this is funny because last week I had been like, oh, Mark's lead didn't go anywhere. It was worthless. But turns out Knox's dad is not dead. That he built something for Ed Harwood, and in exchange, Ed Harwood faked his death. And so Knox wants to know what his new name is, and so I'm really dying to know if this is a character we're already familiar with, that we've already seen, that when they give us his name, we'll recognize him, or if it's going to be just totally someone new.
Yeah, I mean, because the way they describe it really overcomplicated it because I was just like, they put the body in the what? And but yeah, I mean, they kind of describe it in a really complicated way.
Basically, when the next person that died,
He got the identity, but the way that he described it
yeah.
was like, huh? But yeah, I followed, but it was a weird way to describe that.
So people in Discord were saying, "Oh, what's his name going to be?" And I said, "Oh, his name is going to be Hugh Howie." That would be amusing. So next we have Regina. She comes to the workshop to see Bernard. He asks her if she knows where the mission diary is, and if she does, and she knows who has it, to please bring both the diary and the person who has it to him. Then we go back to the before times. Helen is eating from like their little tray of snacks and stuff, which is like fruit, and it made me want to eat fruit. But the white haired man asks if she can't sleep, and she says, "Oh, we slept in the back of the van." And he says that he knows that she's lying. And so that means that the van was bugged. And so that made me think, like, how did they bug the van? Right?
They were driving the van, so
Yeah, they were
like
driving
that's
the, so how did they get, yeah, were they like, I mean, there's like directional bugs too, I think. So was that what they were using, from another car? But
no, I'm
he
saying like if they could drive the van, that wasn't that super high tech. Like they were able to tap into it like that. Of course they had him bugged. Like that didn't
uh
surprise me.
he praises her for that story she told Daniel about her source and how she tanked her career. And she's like, "Well, don't tell anyone." And he tells her that the NDA covers anything and everything about anyone near this. So he tells her a little bit about himself. He spent 20 years doing military intelligence, and then he started a successful company. They eventually failed. And he met the senator when he was working as her driver, which I was like, wow, that's a pretty far fall to go from a CEO to driving someone's car. But
Yeah, because it's implied that like the trouble he has is either something with drugs or with gambling, because there's a comment he makes about like his
character
own
flaws or
character
something.
flaws. Yeah,
But he says he doesn't have a job title. He just makes sure the Thurmans are all right. So, I mean, that just must mean fixer, right? Which is what we thought.
yeah.
But
I
it
mean,
sounds like he
fixer.
works specifically for the Thurmans.
Hmm.
I had thought that he worked for Per Stenson, but I guess not. So Jules goes back to Martha's and Bernard's standing outside. He tells her someone's here to see her, and she had her memories taken like Jules did. So she's uniquely positioned to know exactly what she went through. And apparently, Gloria being taken off the drugs was part of what they used. to get Jules off the drugs. I don't know how that works. He said that he and Sims took Gloria off the drugs so that she could help the nurse swap her pills, which I was like, huh?
I got nothing on that. I was just assuming they meant so that they could figure out how it worked, but okay.
Yeah, I was, yeah. So inside is Gloria Hildebrandt, and I actually had thought that she died. I don't know why. I guess it's because they left her in the elderly care place, and I just thought that they were gonna get rid of her. But I
I
guess
guess she
I
came in
guess
handy.
yeah. But he asked her there because of a relic she brought, and he tells Juliet about how him and Robert used to hunt down relics sacred to the Flame Keepers, and they were people who sought knowledge of the before times, and they held out hope for a future outside. So Gloria reminds, because Jules knew this already, but since Jules forgot, she tells Jules that George's mother was one of the flame keepers. And
Mhm.
so Bernard talks about a spiral bound notepad that the previous heads of IT searched for 300 years and never found. And we got to remember that because I feel like that is like a detail dropped in so that they can bring it back later. That's going to be something that comes back. And the other was an obsession of Bernard's called the Mission Diary. And Mission is a name. Is the name of a porter who lived 140 years ago during the Great Rebellion. He helped transport the explosives that they used to blow up the stairs, which apparently happened before too. But Gloria reads from the diary, and it's basically a memory entry talking about this guy going through having the vitamin D plus implemented into his water supply and not realizing what's happening to him. And he says that the doctors are telling everyone it's a virus and it'll pass. And he has a partner named Allie, and that he doesn't know what he would do without her. But he's heard that people who live alone have stopped eating, and that they've had to hang nets up in the middle because so many people are trying to kill themselves by going over the railings.
Which is interesting because at this point in time, I'm wondering because we've heard before that throwing yourself over the railing is basically a crime against the silo, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of wonder if that's where that crime originates or if this is like something that existed before that time.
Mm.
Sorry, just random thought.
No, yeah. But his last entry is talking about how if he ever forgets Allie, he'll follow them over the side too. And Jules is resisting what Bernard is trying to show her, which is that, with the vitamin D plus implemented, people are going to die anyway. So why not try to do what Teddy has planned? And, he tells her that Salvador Quinn knew the cost of using vitamin D plus and that he had calculated that it would result in the death of about 2,000 people. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that death toll is higher than 1,000 that they were talking about. So,
Yeah, and so this was the trolley problem that I was talking about. Like,
yeah.
do we just do nothing, don't act, and let 2,000 people die? Or do we go ahead and do something right now to stop this and kill about 1,000?
Yeah. And I mean the 1,000 number is like a very basic estimate. Like they have no idea if they're even going to be able to find the safeguard, right? So everybody might die.
Right.
So next we go back to the before times. Anna heads over to talk to Charlotte, and this is the source of half of our episode title. I included the foot rub thing because there was two really random things in this episode that I'm just like, what? And this is one of them. But yeah, so they flirt, and she asks Charlotte if she wants anything. She's like, no, I'm fine, but you could rub my feet. And just, I was not digging this like scene between them. I get a bad feeling about Anna. She just, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think she has a fixer dude working for her family, and it seems like she's got her hands in a lot of pots.
Yeah. I don't think she's just like a mere writer for her mom.
Yeah.
Cernkovich sits down with Daniel and apologizes for earlier. He insists that he's still Charlotte's doctor, and he's trying to tell him, this is my memory therapy and it works. And he tells him, because Helen had told Daniel about this at the coffee shop, about how his daughter died. and he wanted to forget, so that's why he developed this memory therapy. But he tells him himself now. He says, he used to live in LA. His daughter was obsessed with the Grand Canyon, so they finally took her one weekend, and he was tired on the drive, but he still wanted to get to a certain spot in the Grand Canyon by a certain time. And so he didn't react quick enough when another car drove over the center line and crashed into them. And so he tells him that the EMT report says that his daughter died in his arms, and he just doesn't want to remember that. So it's like what Charlotte was telling Daniel. He remembers what happened, but he doesn't have the memory of the things happening. And that's, I guess, he's trying to say that's what allows him to go on with life.
Yeah, and I mean, taking memory I mean, thinking about the memory that he's describing and, like, why you would wanna do this, I'm sorry to bring back the Severance comparison, but it kind of and spoilers for Severance season 2, I don't know if you're gonna cut this out or not, but I just wanna
No,
say
it's fine.
spoilers for, Severance season 2, but it's kinda like the whole concept of severance, messing with people's minds and basically, like how do you say it?
Helping them forget what they don't want to
Yeah.
remember, right?
Yeah, creating this alter ego that essentially will do the stuff that you don't wanna do and don't wanna have to remember that you did. And the reason that's created, right, being ultimately a good thing. Like, we want people to be able to leave their trauma behind, and we can put that trauma into this other person. And, this memory that we're talking about with silo or this memory suppression, the idea that you could be able to suppress people's memories, especially from something as traumatic as a car accident that leads to your child dying in your arms, is a good thing, right? Like, we want people to be able to forget that stuff.
Yeah.
But then you get to where we are at this point in the silo, in silo 18, and it's like, what once might have been considered a good thing when used a certain way is now quite literally, being used to suppress an entire population's memories. And
Yeah.
and sort of the effects of that, we don't really know what the effects could be.
Yeah. But yeah, Sternkovich says that he developed the therapy 30 years ago, and that he eventually discovered that they can pick and choose what you forget. And so that's what he had been telling Daniel earlier. And so and that's what they were trying to do to Jules. But at this point, Helen spots a city outside and she asks where they are. And Daniel, being from Georgia, looks outside and says, "Oh, we're in Atlanta."
Yep.
Camille tells them, "Oh, Anthony has to take his jacket for the class portrait." Because the last time they were all in jackets, and Anthony's like, "That was 5 years ago." And I felt bad for the kid because, I mean, I know I keep talking about how much I don't like Camille, but I felt like she was very overbearing, irritating mother here. Because Robert's like, "Don't force him. It should be his choice." And she's just like, "Fine, whatever." And she just leaves for work. I just found her so irritating here.
Hey, I mean, women in male dominated fields, what can I say?
But someone knocks and Robert goes to the door. It's Sandy, and he gets upset because they're not supposed to have contact. But she tells him that they need passes for judicial. And so Sims goes in and he's like, "Anthony, you have to take your jacket." And he tells her, "Your mom's having a hard time. Just take the jacket. And if no one else wears it, you don't need to wear it." But basically, because they show Anthony waiting outside judicial, Sims goes inside. He gets the passes, and then he puts them in his jacket. And so Sandy gets a different jacket, and she pretends to go to the school so that she can get the jacket with the passes in it, and then leave another jacket there for him. And so
It was quite a convoluted way to get the passes there, but
I
I see.
know, I
I see the
know.
vision.
It's because he's being watched. So but she magically goes back to the workshop, and I like that they're like, "Oh, these look good. Hey, are you okay?" She's like, "No, I've never had to do that many stairs in a day." And she had said to Sims, she wouldn't have sent me 100 levels if it wasn't important. So she
Mhm.
had to go up 100 and then down 100. So poor Sandy and poor her legs. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, at least it's 2 different muscle groups, I guess.
but still, yeah, I appreciate that they had that little scene where they're like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "No." That's a lot of steps. That's a lot of stair climbing. But so back in the before times, the plane lands and they go to helicopters next. And Per tells him, "Oh, that they're headed to a property." The way he so casually says, "A property of mine."
Uh-huh.
It used to consist of 42 individual farms and it's 400 square miles. And Daniel's like, "You got 42 farmers to give you their land." And he says, "I gave them generational wealth. It'll take care of their grandchildren's grandchildren." And I was just like, oh my God, this guy is such an asshole because it's brutal because he probably knows full well that there won't be any grandchildren's grandchildren to
Well,
have this wealth unless they're like invited into the silos. You know what I
that's what I
mean?
was thinking. I was thinking that these people were gonna be, because I think we have, in the not spoilers, but in the trailer, or there was some sort of trailer or something where we hear about a lottery for the silos. Did we
Is
hear that?
there?
I thought there was some line about a lottery.
That
Maybe
might
I'm
have been
wrong.
in the live stream, but that stuff was really fuzzy because I wasn't taking notes because I was so fixated on staring at the screen for things that would flash up. So,
But I thought I heard about a lottery, and so I'm kind of wondering if that's what that
mm,
is, where
yeah,
those 42 individual farmers will be able to be sort of at the head of that line or skip the lottery
mm,
altogether. But then also, that's not uncommon, right? Like, we've seen that happening, like, where these mega corporations are continuously just buying out these small farmers to do God knows what with like huge plots of land.
yeah. So next comes the other half of our episode title. Helen asks Per Sensen, "So are the rumors true?" And he says, "No, I'm not a robot." Which has to be a Mark Zuckerberg thing, right? Because
Right.
but she says no, the other rumor, and she was asking about a unicorn. He's, "Oh, that was true." He said that they had the science with gene editing technology, that they played around with horse normal and rhino DNA, and it would have worked, but he scrapped the project.
Yeah, he said something about how this would make CRISPR look, I can't remember what word
Like
he
Fisher
used.
Price.
Yeah.
Daniel is with Senator Thurman. He's like, "So, how much is this project yours and how much is his?" And she's like, "Oh, he's the brains and I'm just the believer." And she hopes that eventually he'll become one too. And then they go back to Helen and she had been saying she's telling him, "Oh, so did you have a moment of not wanting to be a mad scientist?" She's asking why he stopped the unicorn thing. He says the 10th richest man in the world wanted to pay him $1 billion to hunt and kill his unicorn. And so he says, "Fucking billionaires, they ruin everything."
Yeah, which I saw some people online really take an issue with him and like how he's basically comedy relief. And I'm like, yeah, but I could see some dude with all that money just being like, I'm
Yeah.
a billionaire.
I mean, I find him insufferable, but he still works as a character for me. So
Hmm.
Camille greets Robert and Anthony when they come home, and she's really happy that he took his jacket to school. And she's like, "How did it go?" He's like, "I was the only one who brought a jacket. How do you think?" And then he throws it and he runs to his room, which I was like, "Yeah, you tell her." I'm kidding. Kids and their sass. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't understand like what the big deal about the jacket was from the kid's point of view, because all she was doing was saying, "Take your jacket," and he's like, the other kids didn't wear a jacket."
Look,
Like,
look, look. Having a tween in my house. This is just how they are.
ugh.
there's
Like she
no
told you to
there's
take it, not wear it.
there's no logical explanation for why kids act like this. They're just like that. They're so irritating sometimes.
And I'm just surprised. Frankly, I'm shocked that he just didn't forget the jacket somewhere. Like, oh, I lost it.
Yeah,
Isn't that what
but
they normally do? Just lose it if they don't want to carry
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's what
don't
I
give a
thought.
shit. But he brought his back because he's a good boy, I guess.
Hmm.
He's got to be in his best behavior because he just got busted for stealing from the teacher. So,
Oh, they did tell him he was going to get sent to mechanical, didn't they?
supply, yeah,
Supply. Sorry.
yeah. But Camille tells Robert that she needs his help with something after dinner. She needs to go talk to Amy, who's in judicial seclusion, and she wants him there as a witness. And then I guess she looks at he hands her the jacket, and so she sees it, and this comes up later. But Teddy radios Martha. They're about to initiate their plan to bomb judicial. The Simses head to judicial, and Teddy spots them, and he radios to Martha. He's like, "Oh, two big dogs have been seen entering the apartment. And, Jules is like, oh, we're not going to actually kill him, are we? And, Bernard is like, well, are you going to get another chance? And so she tells him to proceed. And so they go in and they start planting their charges. Meanwhile, Camille and Robert are heading to Amy's cell. Carla fills up a glass of water. She's about to drink it when Bernard's like,
Yeah, right?
She just totally forgot. But they hear a voice on the radio, and it's like, this is Deputy Kelso on level 17. And he says, we had a bit of an issue, but the kids are all right. And so this means that Patrick has made it into Silo 17, and he's met with the kids, and, yeah. So the big question here is, what happened to Lucas, because he's not talking, and how did they get in? Because I had wanted to know, like, last week, like, how are they gonna get them to open the door for them? Because, I mean, Jules had said she was coming back, but Patrick and Lucas aren't Jules. So did they come up with like a password? And how would they have heard them at the door? Because, I mean, I think they're several levels down, so do they have to bang really hard and wait for them to get in, or what? I don't know. I don't know what prevented them from talking up until now, and they don't tell us either, because this is the last point that we see or we hear from Team Jules and Kennedy and Lucas. But so Martha has to tell Teddy to abort, so she starts doing that. And I thought it was funny that, because Teddy's code name is Donnie, and so Martha's like, Donnie, Donnie, and Patrick's like, who the hell is Donnie? She's like, shut up.
Like, he really just doesn't get it. And,
But I
yeah.
mean, to be fair to him, they hatched this whole like blowing up judicial plan after he left, so he had no idea what was going on. But Teddy has to run and stop all the charges, and they finally get the last one with 77 seconds to go, and then they report that they're going to head back. So Bernard is so stressed out. She's like, Martha, do you have anything to drink? And Jules sits down to talk to Patrick, and like I said, this is the last time we see a scene from them, so we're gonna have to wait to find out what happened next week. But I don't know, like, I had thought that maybe Lucas got shot and Patrick had to pull him to 17, and that's why we don't hear from them. But yeah, and maybe Patrick didn't know how to explain that in the moment. He's
Mhm.
probably just in survival mode, right? He had to get him to 17, get him to safety.
Right.
So the Simses enter Amy's cell, and this poor woman is in chains. She's still wearing the same clothes that they arrested her in. And Camille tells her to just shut the fuck up. And she's like,
Yep.
I just wanted to bring you here so we could talk. And she's like, I know what you did with the jacket. She's pissed that he used their son, but I just didn't really understand how she figured it out just from the size. Like, what if Anthony just accidentally took somebody else's jacket? I know he said nobody else brought a jacket, but I don't know. Like, why does her logic leap to him using? She must have some other information, right? Like, how does she jump to the conclusion that he used Anthony and his jacket to help Juliet?
I got nothing on that because that was kind of random.
Yeah, and like, she has no idea what is going on right at that moment outside Judicial, right? That they're about to but did not bomb Judicial where they are. So I was just like, huh? But whatever. Camille is just he's like, can we talk anywhere but in front of Amy? And she's like, fuck Amy. And she like goes over to her and she threatens to shoot her in the head. And I was just like, oh, this woman is just losing it. She's having a Camille down. And he's like, what are you doing? And she says, well, you've done the same thing. And he says he's done worse, but their son deserves at least one parent who's never killed anyone. And then the final scene is in the before times. Their helicopter is flying over the farms, and Helen spots something and she asks what it is. Thurman says that Daniel knows, so he looks outside the window and he said it's a very, very large drill. And then we get a shot of the first silo being built.
Hmm.
I thought it was interesting that there's only one. So I feel like this is very early days, and like I think I had speculated before that they're gonna need Daniel's help. Maybe they've hit a snag and they need him, because I feel like if they were already building all of them, they wouldn't just build them one at a time. That's not very,
Well, I mean, we don't know that they're necessarily building them all one at a time, but they can only drill one at a time unless they have more drills, right?
I
Like,
guess.
'cause
But
how many of those really large drills do they have?
I don't know. But I just feel like a billionaire wouldn't just be like, yeah, let's have one drill to dig 51 silos. I just feel like he'd be like, and plus, like, does that mean that 17 was the last one to be built? Because I think because the drills are in the bottom of silo 18. Sorry, I meant to say 18 instead, not 17 earlier. But you know what I mean? Because it looks like they drill to the bottom, and then rather than extract the drill, they just bury it down there.
I have no thoughts on that actually. I hadn't thought about that.
So what I'm asking is if they had 50 drills and they just leave all of them at the bottom of the silo, or if 18 is the last one to be drilled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a hard time with that because even though he's a billionaire, that's got to be a huge sunken cost
Yeah.
because that can't be a cheap drill.
Yes, but if the world is ending, what are you going to do with all that money, right? You might as well just spend it all on all your drills or something, right?
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it could be that 18's the last. Do we know how they're numbered?
No clue. Yeah, so I don't know. But overall, I found it to be a very exciting episode. I liked seeing. We had seen this the drill scene in the Silo Origins trailer, but I think a lot of people haven't been looking at all the clips and stuff, so it was the first look for some people, so they're very excited about that. Pending scenes from the trailer, though, the only one that we got to see, I think, was the stolen. I thought it was a stolen helmet because it was like a helmet case, but I think what it was, because earlier they were talking about suits and how they're going to need helmets, and Carla says that she can provide the helmets. So I think she takes those from Critical Supply or Supply or whatever, like wherever IT gets them. She provides the helmets to the people who are going to bomb Judicial and try to cap the safeguard.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that explains the helmet case that was in the trailer. So, but yeah, any other thoughts?
No, just excited for these last 3 episodes. I can't believe we only have 3 left.
I know. Hugh keeps. I see threads from him all the time where he's replying to people. He keeps saying that 9 and 10 are going to be really, really good. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. What have we been watching in the interim? I finished my rewatch of Widow's Bay. It was really good in a quick binge. I really liked it. And then I went to see End of Oak Street. It was entertaining. A lot of jump scares, but I wasn't really happy with it after the ending. So I felt like they could have been better about their story in that. So, but it was entertaining. So,
I started rewatching actually, because I watched it when it was live on air in the early 2000s, Crossing Jordan.
oh,
Um, it's been like over 20 years since I've seen it, and so
yeah.
it's interesting because it's like I have two comments that I've come up with so far, and I'm only about mid-season one. One, why did I grow up with this like so many angry, sarcastic female protagonists in TV shows? Not just female protagonists, but like angry, sarcastic
Is that Jill Hennessy?
characters. Yeah, it's Jill Hennessy,
Oh,
who
okay.
I was obsessed with as a kid, like
Oh, really?
obsessed with Jill Hennessy.
She was
So,
on Law and Order, right?
yeah, she was, Claire
On
Kincaid in the
80.
original
Yeah,
Law&
yeah,
and
yeah.
Order.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
seasons 4 through 6. So, one of the first 2 females cast, in the, regular cast of the show. But the other thing just being, like, it's like a proto Bones. Like, it is
Hmm.
I am essentially watching Bones, which I don't know how to feel about that because, like I said, I watched Crossing Jordan live when it was on TV. But, like, coming back to it, I'm like, is this Bones? Like, so did I like Bones because I like this show so much? Weird how that happens. Weird how that happens.
All right, shall we give away our fob?
I think we should.
Yeah, all right. So to get to our winner of the Silo 18 fob, I made a list of all our entries and then I used random.org to draw a number. And the winner was entry number 19, which belonged to Feedy. Congratulations, Feedy. I'll
Right, congratulations.
Yeah, so I'll be in touch to collect your address information and hopefully get that out to you later this week. Quick self-promo, Wires from the Deep is brought to you by Pico's House, which offers a comprehensive slate of services for fiction authors. You can visit www.picoshouse.com for details. If you're enjoying the interaction between me and Neoshia and happen to watch police procedurals, you can check us out on our other podcast, Rom-Com Detectives Castle Unit. I co-host that show with 2 other people to cover Lucifer and The Mentalist. You can check that out at romcomdetectives.com. We want to thank our listeners for joining us for another episode of Wires from the Deep. If you're enjoying our podcast, be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can leave us a comment on YouTube and let us know your thoughts in our discussion. Join conversations about the show on the Silo Series subreddit and the Down Deep Discord, where you can participate in discussions with other fans and chat live as new episodes drop. And then you can join our weekly watch parties and take my weekly speed quiz. If you want to contact me and Neoshia, you can leave a comment or you can email us at crystal@thedowndeep.net. So tune in next week as we break down episode 8, Grey Goo. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.